The Tragedy of Cinema podcast is intended as a family-friendly program that by extension strives to be inclusive to all people regardless of their ethnicity, gender, creed, or any other identifying factors in this incredibly diverse world of ours. With that said, some of the films we discuss may contain serious subject matters or have content considered morally objectionable by today's standards. We do not intend to condone or dismiss these aspects of these films, but our primary focus will be on what we believe the film succeeds at, some fun facts, and our personal enjoyment factors of each film. With that said, we hope you enjoy the show.
Again. Throw a little party, start a bunch of fires, make a little profit.
When someone's dead, they can't come back, can they?
That's what I thought. Are you referring to anyone in particular?
You know, my daddy used to say, every man's got a devil. You can't rest till you find him.
Winked at me before he jumped out a fourth-floor window like he had wings.
Is his link between the land of the living and the realm of the dead.
So kill the crow.
Caw, bang, I'm dead!
I bashed the devil still. I felt how awful goodness is.
Alright guys, welcome back to the Tragedy of Cinema podcast. I am your host Jimbo, and joined again today by...
The fantabulous Kyle.
Yeah, fantabulous.
Fantabulous.
Today we're doing a special episode. It's episode 109. We are doing the movie The Crow, which was requested from a listener from New Zealand named Siobhann. So, Siobhann, we're going to try to do this movie justice, just like The Crow brings justice in the movie to those who have harmed them. Yeah. But, Kyle, before we start, I got two questions for you.
Two questions for you. Double whammies.
This should be golden.
Okay.
Number one, Kyle. If you were in a movie in a setting just like this, what would your spirit guide animal be?
I think my spirit guide would be either like a stuffed chicken or a whole turkey. Just because, you know.
I love how one of the rubber chickens is like,
yeah, rubber chicken. Yeah, rubber chicken would be my guide. Just like, I get it now. I need to bring justice to fast food chains, and that'd be my whole spiel. And it's a really bad.
First
parody.
there was Popeyes, really then there was KFC,
exactly.
And now Kyle brings on his justice too.
Kentucky Fried
Chick-fil-A.
Justice. Exactly. Yeah.
But not on Sundays.
Not on Sundays.
Yeah. Mine would probably be a wolf. I think that would be pretty cool.
You got like a serious cool animal. I get a wild turkey.
Yeah. Well, if the shoe fits, Kyle.
If the shoe fits. Yeah, you're right.
But sadly, most of us know that during the production of this movie, Brandon Lee was fatally shot. We'll get a little bit more into that a little bit later. I even have some cool clips I'm going to put in here later on, and I'll let you know when those are coming up. But Kyle, my second question for you is, if Brandon Lee would have not died during the filming of this movie, what roles in what movies could you have seen him playing that have come out since he died?
Oh, since he died, what kind of roles he could have ended up playing?
Is there a movie that would stick out in your mind that you could see him playing the role?
You know, like particular movies, not necessarily like he could have had like a role in the Expendables movies, or like I feel like he would have kept going further into like pushing forward the action movie genre, kind of like Tom Cruise does now. I could see him being like almost like a not perhaps on his level, but being like almost like between the B and A tier of like you see his name and you know it's going to be a cool action movie going forward.
Right,
like
but his makeup was an inspiration for Heath Ledger's Joker. Could he have pulled off the Joker?
I feel like we've been too like I feel like
because you get a little kind of vibe in this movie where he's a little crazy like the Joker at times.
Oh yeah, definitely. There's some madness to this film specifically, but I think this kind of a film is kind of a send up of the idea of tropes in Batman stories and comic books in general, because this is a comic book movie.
It's a graphic novel, correct.
So like he totally could have kept doing comic movies going forward. I couldn't see him like in an MCU, but like a DC universe kind of role, or even like the new Robert Pattinson Batman. Like he certainly could have had that role. Like going from the Crow to the Batman would not have been a stretch, right? You know, in many sense.
But do you think he would have been stereotyped as an action star, or do you think he could have branched out and done more serious roles, or even comedy?
I think it would be a hard fight for him to get out of action roles if he continued acting and lived on to continue doing movies.
Well, I think so too, just because of his family.
Yeah, just because of his family heritage.
That's always going to be.
I think they're always going to want to push him. Like even like the first movies he actually did have was a lot of kung fu or martial art movies, and this movie was him breaking out into like another action role, and that was like probably as far as Hollywood was ever really going to give him. I think we mainly want you to do martial art movies. But if not that, we really just want to do an action movie. Maybe like Jason Statham in The Transporter or movies like that, where it's like he can do other stuff, but like he's mostly just going to do action movie roles.
Right.
And I don't think it's a bad thing necessarily, but it is, unfortunate. Maybe if he had another movie where he demonstrated like a clear range of acting that people didn't get a chance to see in like these films specifically, but who knows? It's fun to dream, but I think he would have done mostly action films.
Right. I mean, can you imagine him as like a young Indiana Jones? We had Phoenix doing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I could have seen that for sure. I really could have. I think
it belongs in a museum.
Reading more about him for this podcast and like before this, like it's clear he took all his roles incredibly seriously and went above and beyond to push whatever he could as far as he could. I've read some other stuff. Like he went to a hospital for like every movie he had to be part of. He had to go to the hospital eventually because like he pushed himself too far physically or mentally and had I need to recover. There's nothing I couldn't say he couldn't tackle. I think because he's clearly got a work ethic like no other. There's nothing he couldn't do necessarily. He couldn't play Medea, maybe.
Really? The Nutty Professor.
The Medea. The Nutty Professor.
All right, so let's go ahead and jump into this, Kyle.
All right, yeah. Okay, the movie, The Crow. Let's see here. This was released on May 10th in 1994. I was less than a year old.
I was like a sophomore in high school.
Cool. Yeah. Directed by Alex Proyas. Written by James O'Barr for the original comic book series, David J. Show for the screenplay, and John Scriely also for the screenplay. Composer was Green Revel, and cinematographer was, hopefully I pronounce this. I think it was Darius Wolski. I'm going to say Darius Wolski. So
Mike Wazowski.
Mike Wazowski.
You didn't turn in your paperwork.
Sure, exactly. You didn't turn in your music. No, the cinematographer was Wolski. Quick plot summary of the movie. We have The Crow, who is the original character was Eric Draven, a poetic guitarist who was murdered on Devil's Night, as well as his girlfriend. And after 1 year, a supernatural crow brings him back to life to bring justice to those who killed him back then and to avenge his wife.
Right, and I think part of the story that we'll have to get into is basically the night before Halloween.
Yeah, Devil's Night is right before Halloween. Halloween's Eve.
Right. So this I guess you would call them a gang. just basically they burn the city down every year, and I was like, wow, you know.
Yeah. Oh, there's some like loose plot threads about like him like rezoning stuff like that, or pushing out poor to bring in new people. Like it's some weird criminal conspiracy that doesn't actually matter.
Right, but who is it? Is it Fun Boy and that other guy that's always like burn, burn, burn? They're just only giving high fives and dancing around.
A fun fact, actually, Devil's Night is a real thing, specifically in Detroit. There was a whole thing like I think it was like from the 30s all the way to the 80s. Like Devil's Night was a thing where like many people like set fire to random buildings or created like general chaos like that.
So it's kind of like The Purge.
Yeah, kind of like pretty close to the idea of kind of like The Purge. And eventually Detroit kind of like made a new holiday called Angels Night to kind of rectify that, and that helped bring it back down. As like Angels Night was about preventing that stuff from happening, and they had that for the day before Halloween's Eve. So that was the whole thing they kind of set up to combat it, and it actually worked. So good for them, because Devil's Night sounds bad, and it is. So that's a cool fact about Devil's Night there, and interesting history if you ever want to get in that on like Wikipedia page sometime, but not for this podcast. Let's see here. Going on, we have some technical details. We have 102 minutes for the running time, aspect ratio of a 1.85 by 1, and cameras. This was filmed on JDC cameras, which I have not heard of until today. I might have to do some research on those and find out what made them unique, or maybe they were just the cheapest cameras available that day, more than likely.
Do you know the director of this?
The director of this?
They wanted to shoot it in black and white, but when he would have his flashbacks, they were going to have them in color.
Oh, that's incredible.
I was going to... That is something that I haven't,
It's incredible.
I haven't seen in a movie. I mean, you've seen black and white where maybe there's like a drop of red or something, like Schindler's List.
Schindler's List or like Sin City or something like that. Yeah.
But I think that would have been awesome if they would have tried to do something like that in this.
It would have been a bold idea, and kind of cool to like experiment with, like even like personal, like just like if I was going to rip the movie and kind of like do my own little edits of it or like that.
Right, but that's why it's kind of like that. Got that gray overcast of the movie, you know what I mean? Because he wanted to do it, but the studio's like, nah. So he's like, well, I'll just make it pretty dreary then.
Yeah, this movie has a weird act, like a weird duology of being both a kind of a... It feels like an indie art house film in some weird ways, but also is just a full-blown action movie in its own way, too. And having that fusion is very unique to this film. That kind of like no other film's quite like The Crow, I think. Yeah. Let's see here. Moving on, we have the awards. I'm going to move on there to the awards here. In 1995, for the Academy of Science Fiction, Fantasy, and Horror Films, it was nominated for Best Special Effects, Best Costumes, and Best Horror Film. Also, 95 for the BMI Film and TV Awards, it won the Film Music Award related to Graham Revell. And then also 95 for the MTV Movie and TV Awards, it won Best Movie Song for the song Big Empty. And it was also nominated for Best Male Performance, award to Brandon Lee, posthumously, and also nominated for Best Movie. Then in 1994, in the Fangoria Chainsaw Awards, it won the Chainsaw Award for Best Wide Release Film.
It won a chainsaw. That would just be amazing.
They should just send you a chainsaw as a reward. Just a chainsaw with a little placard. Here's your reward. It could be amazing. Best Supporting Actress awarded to Rochelle Davis. Best Actor awarded posthumously to Brandon Lee. And Best Soundtrack awarded to Graham Revell. I hope I'm pronouncing that name right, but I bet I'm not. Let's see here. What are some other facts I usually cover here? We're going to move on to the cast of The Crow. We, of course, have Brandon Lee playing the titular Crow. Also, before he died, he was Eric. Brandon Lee also was in such films such as Rapid Fire in 1992, Showdown in Little Tokyo in 1991 with Dolph Lundgren.
I think Lundgren. Yeah, I think that's the only other movie I remember that I've seen with Brandon Lee in it.
Yeah,
if I can remember.
And there was
there was like wasn't there like a documentary type or not? But where he kind of played his dad, like. The Bruce Lee story or something. If I could be wrong.
I think you're right, but I don't remember what that was. I was the only one I wrote down here was Laser Mission in 1989 because I love the title, just Laser Mission.
It's where he just runs around playing laser tag.
So good. I would watch that movie in a heartbeat. Like a really hardcore movie, but it's about laser tag. Sounds amazing to me. Next up, we have Rochelle Davis playing Sarah. She was in films such as Hell House in 2009, Grotesque in 2016, and most recently, The Revenge of the Devil Bat in 2020. Then we have the legendary Ernie Hudson playing Albert, the police officer. Ernie Hudson, of course, best known for playing Winston in the Ghostbusters films, such as Ghostbusters 1 and 2, and the, Ghostbusters Afterlife, the most recent one.
When he breaks into his apartment in this, if he would have just...
Busting time.
Call in Ghostbusters. Can you imagine? What would happen if Ghostbusters met the Crow? Would they be able to get him? But he's not really a ghost, so I don't think that would happen.
Still gets in the ecto trap. Yeah, okay, be good. Yeah, that's the movie was made today. That's the post credit. Is just the Ecto 1 pulling in. You got a crow problem. It's so dumb. Okay.
Or Arnold shows up and goes, "I heard you have." Exterminator problem.
It's terrible. It's terrible. The dumbest version of this movie is also the movie I want to see. Ernie Hudson also leading the show The Family Business from 2018 to 2022, so I believe it's still ongoing, so maybe go on a few more years. You check that out because that sounds really cool. Yeah. Then we have Michael Wincott playing the character Top Dollar. Michael Wincott just appeared in the film Nope, which I just saw last week and it was very, very good. So very interesting to see Michael Wincott very recently in the last movie, and in Nope, and in this movie. So that was a fun little surprise. He was also in the film What Just Happened in 2008 and the film Dead Man in 1995. Next up, we have Bei Ling playing Micah, who is Top Dollar's both half-sister and lover, which is an interesting fact.
Yeah, I was like, this is weird.
That's a weird thing. You just put that in there, did you? And comic books are weird. That's probably where it came from. Anyways, she was in such films such as Red Corner in 1997, Crank High Voltage in 2009, and Lockdown in 2022, just this year. Next up, we have Sophia Shrines. Yeah, so I'm going to say Sophia Shrines. I believe I typed that in right. I got the cast over here if I need to. And playing Shelley. She was in such films such as Planet of the Pits in 2004, Terminal Velocity in 1994, and The Hunger in 1998. Then we have Anna Thompson playing Darla. She was in such films such as True Romance in 1993 and Unforgiven in 1992. Then we have David Patrick Kelly playing T-Bird. David was also in such films such as Flags of Our Fathers in 2006 and Last Man Standing in 1996. Then we have Angel David playing Skank. I love character names in this movie.
And if Kyle was playing, he'd be Skunk.
Skank was in G.I. Jane in 1997. I'm going to let that one pass. In G.I. Jane 1997. And also in Baby Boom in 1987. Next up, we have Lawrence Mason playing Tintin. Like I said, the characters in the movie.
I know, some of the names of this are awesome.
What's his name? Tintin. Yeah.
The Knife Man.
The Knife Man, Tintin. Tintin also in the movie City of Lies in 2018. The Lincoln Lawyer in 2011. A really underrated film, by the way. And Hackers in 1995. A really overrated film, by the way. Then we have Michael Massey playing Fun Boy. That's just like every good gamer tag, just Fun Boy.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Fun Boy was in the films The Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2 back in 2011 and 2014, Lost Highway in 1997, and The Last Man Club in 2016. Next up, we have Tony Todd playing Grange. Tony Todd is the titular Candyman in the Candyman series of movies, so big actor right there. He was also in the film The Man from Earth in 2007 and the legendary The Rock in 1996, starring Nicolas Cage.
That's a good movie.
Yeah, great movie. And then we have John Politi playing Gideon. He was the pawn store guy. And I've seen him in something else, but I can't remember which movie it was. But he was in films such as Miller's Crossing in 1990, Big Nothing in 2006, and Highlander in 1986. Then we have Bill Raymond playing Mickey. Mickey was in films Lincoln in 2012, Michael Clayton in 2007, and Golden Years in 1991. Then finally we have Marco Rodriguez playing Torres. Torres was in the films Cobra in 1986, The Rookie in 1990, and A Man Apart in 2003. And that is the cast of The Crow. Jimbo, take it from me.
Well, Kyle, did you have the filming locations?
Filming locations. I believe it was filmed mostly in North Carolina, if I have it on top of my head right here. We have
the top of your head right here on these notes.
The top of the head right here on this. I remembered that and looked at the notes to confirm. That's what I did. I have everything here, but also everything in my head. It was in the Roanoke Cement Factory in Castle Hayne, North Carolina. And let's see here, multiple North Carolina filmings. It was stage 4 of the EUE Screen Gym Studios, where unfortunately Brandon Lee was fatally shot on stage. Stage 4 and the UA4 Screen Gym Studios in Wilmington, North Carolina, where the majority of the filming was taking place.
I wonder if they offer tours to that, and if they do, is there like a memorial or something there where that happened, or is it just something that you just brush aside and we're not going to mention this? You know what I'm saying?
I would think that'd be something you kind of like brush aside and not even mention this, because it's not like a favorable history, nor is it like it's not like a major tragedy where like a lot of people died in an accidental thing. It was like one person died here by accident. I wouldn't like try and like there's a gravestone. I'm sure you can go visit and like pay respects, but like going to where he died seems morbid and kind of messed up to me in a weird way.
Yeah, but a lot of people do that. John Lennon. Well,
at the same time, like making the place where he died, making it a tourist attraction would seem weird, and then you have to keep that set up or something like that.
But I'm saying it's not a tourist attraction if it's still being used today for other movie sets. Yeah, you know what I mean? I didn't know if there was a plaque or something. This is dedicated to Brandon Lee, who tragically lost his life
there
due
could
to
be something, but I don't know. I did not see anything in my research about that. It's very possible though. But if it were me kind of dealing with the situation, I'd be like, it's just a studio. We're going to close down for a month to make sure everything's clean and spackled, and we get rid of all the set dressing, and then we just reopen this building and use it as its intended purpose.
Right. Now, his death. It's pretty crazy because pretty much most of the film was shot already.
Yeah, he only had 3 days of shooting left to go.
Right, I've got in here the scenes that were replaced, but there was outcry, or they weren't even going to finish it. You know what I mean? Which we saw recently with Rust, with Alec Baldwin when he fatally shot the director.
Yeah.
Well, that's neither here or there.
That's still ongoing to a degree as well.
But so. It's amazing that this film even completed due to the circumstances, but I've got something in my notes about that. So, but man, what a great movie! Here we go. You ready?
Yes.
So Cameron Diaz was offered the role of Shelley, but she turned it down because she didn't like the script.
Mistakes were made. I mean, yeah.
I mean,
I can imagine her in the role, and I think she'd do a fine job. And
no, because she couldn't come running out with samurai swords like Kill Bill to be the action star, probably.
Exactly.
At around 26 minutes, the poem that Eric Draven misquotes when he breaks into Gideon's shop is "The Raven" by Edgar Allan Poe. Draven says, "Suddenly I heard a tapping," while Poe's poem actually reads, "Suddenly there came a tapping."
I think he's the character himself is a poet and musician, so perhaps he's using his own artistic flair to change it up.
Right.
I'm as good as Edgar Allan Poe. I can do this.
There's a cameo by James O'Barr at around 32 minutes where he's still in a TV set after the Gideon shop's blown up. You see that thing blow up and we think there would be a TV worth taking. You know what I mean? It's probably all melted.
Oh, those tube TVs, man, they go withstand anything. They're fine. Yeah.
Now, this should have been a warning sign because they say this set was pretty much doomed since the beginning, because during the first day of shooting in Wilmington, North Carolina, a carpenter suffered severe burns after his crane hit live power lines. On subsequent days, a grip truck caught fire, a disgruntled sculptor crashed his car through the studio's plaster shop, and a crew member accidentally drove a screwdriver through his hand. So
how do you accidentally have a screwdriver through your hand?
Drive, unless he's doing, where you spread your hand out, your fingers, or you do the with the knife, usually like an alien or whatever.
The 5-finger fillet thing. Yeah. Can't remember the name of.
I wonder if he was pretty calm about it, or if it was like in Young Frankenstein when he stabs his leg with the scalpel. He's like, class dismissed.
He's going to the supervisor and he just waves with the screwdriver. I got a problem here, and
or he sticks a note on it and says, I gotta go.
Oh,
man.
What happened? I put a screwdriver in my hand. It was an accident. No.
James O'Barr modeled the comic book Eric's face on an amalgam of Ian Curtis and Daniel Ash. Iggy Pop served as the model for comic Eric torsos and, more importantly, the comic Fun Boy's overall look and attitude. Iggy was slated to star as Fun Boy in the film. However, he was forced to decline the role due to touring and recording conflicts. To make up for his cancellation, he agreed to be in The Crow, City of Angels. Kyle, have you seen Crow, City of Angels?
Yes, I have once. It's not very good.
No. Do you think there would have been sequels with Brandon Lee sooner before this?
Yeah. If he had lived, the movie was a big success. I think the movie would have been an even bigger success if he hadn't have died, actually.
Or did it become a bigger success because he died?
No, I think it would have been a bigger success if he didn't die. I think it would have kept going because there would have been sequel buzz immediately. The press would have tried to move around it and actually kind of make this kind of like a marching thing where it continued to hit the news cycles. People came back week to week. I think would have had a long tail to it. That's what I think would have happened. I think they would have just kind of carried it forward. Hey, let's just keep talking about this movie until we get that sequel made, and it would have been good. But it didn't happen, unfortunately.
Top Dollar, Micah, and Grange are never referred to by name in the movie.
Oh boy, I skipped one of my favorite parts. I always do. Oh gosh, I got to get back to it right now. I never talked about the budget of the film.
What I was going to ask you that, and I was like, I seen you glance over your notes, and I was like, Kyle,
I skipped it. I do inflation calculations every week, and I should have known. Yeah, the budget of the film was $23 million. It always astounds me how much movies made 20 or 30 years ago. It's just oh yeah, we made it for a tenth of the price we make modern Marvel movies now, but we got some incredible aesthetics out of it. But just $23 million, which would be the equivalent of about $46 million today. Opening weekend, it made $11.7 million, which would be the equivalent of about $22 million today. And then gross worldwide, it made $50.6 million. So more than worthy success there.
Yeah, but it kind of had a weak opening weekend.
A little bit of weak opening weekend, but have a good long tail to it. Like I said, and I think if he hadn't died and they still could interview him afterwards, they probably would have had a whole press tour or press thing to kind of bring this movie up, and that way this movie could have been out for 3 months and made $100 million to $50 million or something close to it maybe, and that'd be the equivalent of about $101.4 million today in today's profit. So it wasn't wasn't a huge success, but I think successful enough to warrant at least one sequel. Maybe the John Wick movies, where you could have a lower budget sequel going forward until they could make John Wick 27 or how many of the movies they're making now. Yeah, so that was kind of interesting there. But that was the budget of The Crow.
Did you forget anything else today?
I probably have. I mean, I have long weeks now, so.
So one of the villains in this movie is named Skank. The Wraith, which was another movie about an Avenger who's back from the dead, also has a villain named Skank. And another one named Skunk, starring Kyle.
Skank is a good movie villain name. I mean, they should bring it back for more characters. I can't wait for the next Shang-Chi movie. My greatest enemy, Skank.
At around 6 minutes into the movie, when T-Bird and Funboy and Tintin and Skank destroy the arcade. Why would you destroy the arcade? That hurt me. T-Bird says, Lake Erie actually caught on fire once from all the crap floating around in it. I wish I could have seen that. Something like that actually did happen, but it wasn't Lake Erie. It was the Cuyahoga River in Cleveland, Ohio, which feeds into Lake Erie.
Jeez, that's so sad.
At around 47 minutes, the later part of the scene in Albrecht's apartment was ad-libbed by Brandon Lee and Ernie Hudson. The line about Shelley, believe me, nothing is trivial, was not in the script. Eric Mabius, who played the lead for The Crow Salvation, auditioned for the role of Fun Boy for this movie. One of the ravens used in this film was named Magic, and he was used in all of the following movies.
Oh, wow.
That's funny because there's not really a crow in this movie or in the movies. They're all ravens.
Yeah, they're all ravens.
And there's a difference between the two.
Mm-hmm.
Linda Lee Caldwell, the widow of Bruce Lee and mother of Brandon Lee, filed a negligence case against producer Edward R. Pressman, actor Michael Massey, and 12 other defendants over the death of her son on set. She settled out of court to the tune of $3 million.
$3 million. Jeez, I mean, it is such a understandable accident to make, but also it was an accident, and it is a negligence that's responsible for the company to pay out forward. So, if this were a wrongful death suit in any other company, I'd be on the defendant side. So I think I agree with the mother on this one too, suing the company and getting $3 million out of it.
Yeah, but I guess it would depend on when the actor signed a contract to. You know what I mean? Is there anything in there that says, "Hey, this could be problematic"? You know how we are not responsible for.
Well, the legalities of it always go one way or the other. That you don't know beforehand, really, like unless you're a very good, unless you're a lawyer yourself. So like I'm talking about more of the morality of it all around. I am with the mother's side on this, that she reserves restitution from the company after he died on set. I think that's what morally is the correct option. Legally though, it's all about like what contract they signed beforehand, what he ever agreed to, what kind of insurance coverage they have, all those things, and that's just a mess of bureaucracy I'm not interested in.
Right. According to James O'Barr, he didn't like casting Brandon Lee as the main lead for his comic book adaptation. At that time, he had only seen him in Showdown in Little Tokyo and feared it would end up like a kung fu movie and go straight to video. But he was thrilled when he first met Brandon on the set with the makeup and the crow outfit. He was amazed by Brandon's take on the character when he spoke the exact lines from the comic.
That's fantastic.
Right. James O'Barr stated on the Crow DVD that when he met the movie's executives, they originally wanted to make this a musical starring Michael Jackson.
Now, of course they did.
Now, I don't think I would have been a fan, but I'm kind of intrigued. I'd kind of like to see it.
I'm intrigued too, and I feel like this isn't the first time we've brought up Michael Jackson in our notes a few times about him wanting to be musical. There was just that period, and there had been
he was the big thing.
He was the big thing, but there had been a couple of producers in Hollywood that were just leading that crusade of no, we need a Michael Jackson musical.
It
so
probably
bad.
would have made a lot of money.
Oh yeah,
worldwide.
I'm sure
it would have probably just. But
if it ever really happened, it would have made a lot of money, I'm sure. But I feel like.
Yeah,
it had to be some stubborn producers in Hollywood that were just
he's like, just beat it. He's punching it, beat it. Yeah. But he immediately laughed uncontrollably, thinking it was a joke, only to find out that they were actually quite serious. It was only until Brandon Lee and Alex Proyas came on board that the movie took a more serious role. So I guess it would have been comical.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. I feel like you could pitch any movie to those producers, and they would think what's a way I can make this a Michael Jackson musical? And that was the only filter they had for 5 years.
Although he was not at fault for the death of Brandon Lee, Michael Massey stopped acting for a year because he was so traumatized by the incident. His next film was a small role in Seven. Up until his death in 2016, he had never watched this film. I mean, I'm sure he feels terrible. Then getting a lawsuit on top of it where he's one of the defendants, you know what I mean? But as I think I'll put it in here, there is. We were doing a little bit of research, and I found this video where it talks about how the accident happened. It goes into detail about how the dummy round fired, but the end of it, the cap or whatever, was still in the barrel, and then when you put another dummy round behind it and you fire it, it makes a lethal projection. I think they said
3,000 psi, basically like
3
that.
to 5,000 psi, and I think it was a 2 centimeter from 40 yards away through wood. I'll put it in right here so everybody can listen to that.
Michael Massey was, to put it mildly, beside himself. He was broken by the experience of having pulled the trigger. I don't think he could have taken on any greater responsibility on his own shoulders, although it was not by any means his fault. Plain and simple, and it wasn't his job to be responsible for that particular weapon.
Chinese mafia executed Bruce Lee and then his son. That's where things were going, with the tabloids. Blood on the set. What really happened? How could a bullet end up in the gun? Well, it wasn't a bullet. It was a dummy's head. The dummy head was still in the chamber. And it blew it out.
What occurred was that there was a dummy bullet loaded 2 weeks before that had lodged a real bullet in the barrel of the gun.
These are different caliber dummy rounds that we have, and the whole goal to making dummy rounds is to make an imitation round that would lead the viewer to believe that it is a live round. So this is the dummy round, and this is the live round. Even though this is a dummy round and it's had the gunpowder removed, the primer hasn't been removed or struck. When we do a dummy round, it's always important to remove the primer cap from the center. What happened on the Crow was when they put the dummy round in, they forgot to remove the primer. And what happens is, again, that primer has enough force to dislodge the lead round and actually push it into the barrel. We're actually going to pull the trigger, and it'll have just enough force to lodge the round in there. So you can see in there our dummy round. We'll index it. 3, 2, 1. So just with that simple action, that little snap, the cap's gone off, no gunpowder, but what we'll be able to prove is the hung round inside the barrel. Inside that barrel, we have the obstruction. But if you look down the barrel, you'll notice that there's no light coming through. So that would tell me that there's an obstruction. In this case, a lead round, a hollow point. That's the one thing they didn't do. They didn't check the barrel for an obstruction. The problem with that is when you put a blank in there, then after whatever's in there, be it rock, dirt, or a hung round, that round comes out flying at 3,000 to 5,000 PSI. So when we're ready, I'll put a round in here. It's going to be a blank, a half-load blank. This is it. There's no lead projectile. It's just crimped at the end, but it's got powder. The crimp's hot, but this produces enough powder to push this lead round into that board through 2 inches of plywood. So when we're ready, 3, 2, 1. The round's gone off. I can go check down range. We can actually see the round that punctured through it. Right here. That's your round. That was the hung round that got pushed into the barrel with just the primer cap. And what you can see is, I don't know if you can see the striations, but it actually fired the round. So this would definitely be a lethal round. This would be something you don't get up from.
So there you have it. You can see where it was just a tragic accident, but when you're dealing with something like that, there should be checks and balances to make sure nothing in the barrel like that is.
And there usually are. Like, this is like one of those things, like once again, like, you know, mistakes happen all the time. That's why you need, like, you know, redundant checks and balances to make sure those kind of things happen as well. You know, but yeah, just a, you know, tragic event like that. Like, yes, you say, like, yes, it could have and should have been avoided, but also, like, of course it happens because eventually it always has happened to someone, and this is the story now. Right. And it hadn't happened before for a very long time until we got to the movie Rust, which had its own set of, you know, negligence going on. You know? Right. Yeah.
Prior to filming, Brandon Lee had somewhat of a morbid fascination with death. He would often drive around in a hearse he owned, visit famous graves, and would listen to the Doors.
That's so cool. I mean, yeah, it's probably, it sounds like you may have been depressed or something like that going on. But driving a hearse around, driving a hearse around, listening to the Doors all day, man, that sounds cool. Brandon Lee was all right.
At around 26-minute mark, according to John Polito, Brandon Lee cut himself when he broke the glass in Gideon's shop. The glass was breakaway glass, and it's very rare for anyone to get cut by it. Polito said that he told Lee that he feared Lee would die in an on-set accident like Vic Morrow did during filming of The Twilight Zone, the movie. Unfortunately, Polito's prediction turned out to be true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, you started reading about stuff about this movie, and it's just like, it was gonna happen. It's doomed. You know.
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah.
James O'Barr actually wanted Johnny Depp to star as Eric Draven, which, of course, we probably could have seen Johnny Depp. He would have been fine.
Yeah. I'm kind of like, I feel like I've always been tired of Johnny Depp as an actor, but sure.
Right, but this would be before the Pirates of the Caribbean and all that stuff.
Oh yeah, Rise of the Caribbean before like became like a superstar.
It's probably like right after Edward Scissorhands.
right around that same time. We're like, doing the gothic kind of like Tim Burton work anyway. So like, he would have been a perfectly fine fit for this role, and so I could have seen him do it. Yeah, for sure.
In the Blu-ray commentary, Alex Proyas said that Brandon Lee was unhappy with the way his face paint looked when the makeup department applied it to him before shooting. Lee and Proyas then agreed that it would look best if Lee applied his own makeup every night before going to bed so that when he woke up, his face paint would look naturally and be a little worn out.
Kind of set, yeah, kind of give more of a sickly look than an actual like a makeup look.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
I like it
because we just had that like almost like that Kiss or who's the not the WCW.
Yeah, I was the Sting.
Yeah,
that was Eric Draven. This movie was the inspiration for his makeup.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, the future knows later. But if it just looked like that pure white and black, it
Right.
would have looked too like fake and phony.
Right.
Versus this film where like it does look like a undead corpse walking around killing people.
I kind of got the what is it? Is it the Day of the Dead in Mexico? You know what I'm talking about. Help me out. You know where they dress up?
Yeah.
Is it Day of the Dead?
That's not Cinco de Mayo. Is it Cinco de Mayo?
No,
no, it's not.
It's
not. The Day of the Dead. But you're right.
I can't remember the exact name. Man, I should have wrote it down. But that's what it reminded me of. You know? What I mean?
The skeleton makeup and all that kind of stuff too.
Yeah. In 2005, 12 years after the accidental shooting of Brandon Lee, Massey, who actually fired the gun, claimed to still have nightmares of the incident. Originally, Fun Boy was not supposed to fire a gun at Brandon Lee's character, which ultimately we know led to his death. It was changed at the last minute by director Alex Proyas.
Sad.
Some believe that because of the tragic death of Brandon Lee, this movie is responsible for changing gun safety standards in film. For action scenes, the gun is held off to the side and tricky camera angles are used when the weapon is aimed at a character to avoid misfiring or other horrific accidents. River Phoenix and Christian Slater both turned down the role of Eric Draven. River Phoenix would have been an interesting one. Christian Slater.
I think Christian Slater could have been a slam dunk, honestly.
I like Christian Slater, but I don't know if it... I just don't know if he has a look for this, though. I think he's too short. I don't know how tall he is, but I think he's too short.
Oh, no, just put him on a soapbox and the Tom Cruise stuff again. Just do that Christian Slater. It would have worked fine. Yeah.
According to Empire magazine, cocaine abuse was rampant on set, with cameramen shooting while high, crews going into the toilets to snort between shots, and people cutting around. One crew member recalls hearing the sound of a sneeze on the set one day, and an annoyed Brandon Lee said, "Someone just lost $50."
It's terrible. It's terrible.
But I mean, if the gangs are getting into character, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, can you see him just get annoyed? Oh, well, there goes $50.
$50.
The set and outside building shots used during the apartment scenes, especially the iconic window, were reused for the kidnappers' hideout in Baby's Day Out. Have you seen that movie?
No, I've not.
It's a great movie.
It's a great movie. Okay, I'll add that on the list.
There were... when VHSs were really popular, there used to be sometimes when you would, before the feature presentation, or usually when it popped up on the screen, feature presentation, or even before or after that, it would say, "Hey, stay tuned for after this movie for a special sneak peek or interview or whatever." Right. So there's one of those special flashbang bumpers shown to the home viewers for this film. In this case, it was the logo of the crow's face on screen saying, "After the feature, last camera interview with Brandon Lee." The announcer is heard saying, "Stay tuned after the feature for the last on-camera interview with Brandon Lee, which includes never before seen footage," which was, this says it was before the feature presentation was on the screen, which is normal. But this variant is a very rare version of the flashbang bumpers to be used even, for that day. So, usually, Disney or Miramax or Hollywood or Touchstone would do some of those. So I have actually found that interview, and Kyle and I just sat here and watched it, but I think it's very eye-opening to hear it from Brandon Lee. And there's a point in here where he starts talking about, you never know, like, how many more moon times you will get to see the moon, 20 maybe, or when you will have that last memory of a childhood memory. He's like, maybe 5. He's like, then, or maybe you never get to again. It was very eerie listening to it. So I am going to put that in here because I think it's only right to honor Brandon Lee, and I want you to hear his voice and the way he approached this role. So here it is.
don't know if I was destined to play this role, but I feel very fortunate to be doing so.
The Crow was Brandon Lee's last film. Miramax Home Entertainment is proud to share his final on-camera interview, which includes exclusive, never-before-seen footage.
The crow in the film, the bird in the film, you could really just look at as a guide, almost a piece of his own personality that guides him back into his life and reminds him who he was, what happened to him. This is a person who has been pushed right to the limits of his ability to cope with what is going on, and in a sense is quite mad sometimes. In a sense is completely insane. Almost in the sense that you might think of an insane person having voices, more rational voices that try and guide him, more irrational voices that come from a more emotional, more deep-seated place. I think that the crow is that rational voice. The crow is his guide. The crow helps Eric do what he has to do in a very practical sense. It leads him to the places that he has to be. It helps him find the people that he has to find. Come on. It's a story about justice for victims.
Each one of these is a life you helped destroy.
His mission is to find the man who killed him and his fiancée and kill them.
Gentlemen! I just want him.
It's a wonderful role, and it really is a role that you have to take risks with, and it gives you a wonderful opportunity to take those risks and stretch, because you tell me how somebody who comes back from the dead is going to behave, You
move, you're dead.
And I say I'm dead, and I move. And that's one of the wonderful things about playing this character is it's a real... You can really take the gloves off in playing this part because there are no rules about how a person who has come back from the dead is going to behave.
Listen! I'm sure you'll remember. You killed them on Halloween.
You can't be you. We put you through the window. There ain't no coming back.
And then there's the part of him that is filled with rage towards what was done to him. And one of the things I like best about this movie is the fact that all of those parts of the character are given balance on the screen. He's torn up. He's torn up really badly, emotionally, physically, and psychically.
She died at the hospital.
Don't touch me! I saw her through your eyes.
I think that the appeal of Eric's mission is that it is a very pure one. He has come back to seek justice. I've done other films that have had violence in them, but I must say I've never done anything where I felt that the violence was as justified as it is in this. There's very little need to worry about compassion.
Victims, aren't we all?
This is justice, and I truly feel that it is. And I truly feel that if I were in the same situation, I would do the same thing. He has something he has to do, and he is forced to put aside his own pain long enough to go do what he has to do.
To tell the rest of them that death is coming for them tonight.
This film deals with the concept of a balance being struck between good and evil.
I gave this to Shelley once. I think she'd like you to have it.
Because we do not know when we will die, we get to think of life as an inexhaustible well. And yet everything happens only a certain number of times, and a very small number, really. How many more times will you remember a certain afternoon of your childhood An afternoon that is so deeply a part of your being that you can't even conceive of your life without it. Perhaps 4 or 5 times more. Perhaps not even that. How many more times will you watch the full moon rise? Perhaps 20. And yet it all seems limitless.
Little things used to mean so much to Shelley. I used to think they were kind of trivial. Believe me, nothing is trivial.
This is the point of view that this character is coming from in the whole film, because it has been brought sharply into focus for him how precious each moment of his life is.
I love you.
Say that again.
I love you.
This is the best role that I've had the opportunity to get my hands on in a film.
So there you are. There's Brandon Lee himself. He just seems like a guy you want to hang out with. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It just seemed really cool.
And also just like fascinating. Like he's so passionate about it, so clearly passionate about it, and like how seriously he takes the work he's doing part of. Like really was a missed opportunity to see like how far his career.
And it was almost like he was a critical thinker too. If you sit there, he took that role and he personalized it. So I thought it was really cool.
Yeah.
While most of the scenes after Brandon Lee's death were digitally composed, there was in fact a mask that had been made directly from a mold of Lee's face. It had been intended for use on his stunt doubles if they needed it. They attempted to create the scenes using this mask, however the cast and crew were far too unsettled by the prop that it was destroyed, and digital means were used to fill in the gaps. So it must have been a pretty good mask, I would say.
The studio actually added like $8 million to the budget just for those digital scenes too. I've got that in the future notes later, but they actually had to add those things in just to like digitally put his face in those first scenes, because I believe it was like the flashback scene that they had to still film for those last 3 days.
Yeah, I have the ones, the list of which ones are actually that they had to reshoot or whatever.
So the full list. Okay.
Yeah. There was a lot of cost and corner cutting on set. One of the crew recalled they were trying to make a $30 million movie for $18 million. The film was filmed in Wilmington, North Carolina, because North Carolina was a right-to-work state. This allows the producers to get away with pay, conditions, and crucially, production schedules that would have been nuked by unionized Hollywood. They began filming at night outdoors, but the aforementioned hurricane destroyed the sets, so they moved the production indoors without changing the schedule, as switching a production from nights to days requires a 24-hour turnaround, time the harried production team did not have. Moreover, it was still so cold that the camera rails had to be de-iced during filming by riggers with blowtorches hiding out of shot.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, that's why I kind of prefer union productions. Sounds like it was an awful experience for everyone involved.
One of Brandon Lee's favorite movies was The Warriors, which created a breakout role for classically trained actor David Patrick Kelly, who was T-Bird. So naturally, Lee was overjoyed to have a great character actor known for his villainous role starring in his own movie. Even though the movie based on the comic is called The Crow, as we stated, none of the birds in the film were actually crows. All, in fact, were ravens, which are much larger than crows and have longer, more impressive beaks.
Yeah, they do look really cool on film.
Brandon Lee requested that one Asian character from the comic who tries to steal Eric's powers be removed from the script, as he felt it was stereotype.
I think I would agree. I mean, like, comics have certainly had a history of racial. Trying to think of the word. Just not done right. not doing it right. I'm just
stereotype.
Yeah, stereotyping. Yeah. Some bad representation going on. So I understand. I think it's good that Brandon Lee vetoed it.
Right.
We're not doing this.
It took between 35 minutes and an hour to apply Brandon Lee's makeup, which could stay in place for hours. Special effects artist Lance Anderson created a rubber mask that had slits in it so that the pattern or lines around the eyes and mouth would be consistent. So, it's not just all over the place. Like Kyle was trying to put his makeup on as he was driving here.
Oh yeah, visual continuity in those scenes is very important.
Right.
So like getting those things right, very
because nothing is worse than seeing something out of place, in the next scene.
Oh yeah, especially when it's on someone's face, which you're understaring at the entire film, anyways.
The production didn't have the money or the space to shoot a car chase sequence, so they did it with miniatures instead. Which you can tell when the car blows up into the wharf.
Still always cool. I love good use of miniatures.
With his profits from the film, James O'Barr bought his mother a car and a surround system for himself. Then he donated the rest. Quote, I was really good friends with Brandon, so it just felt like blood money to me. He said at a comics convention in 2009, I didn't want to profit at his expense, and I kept that secret for as long as I could. It's not charity if you get credit for it.
I understand that.
Or is it because he had to pay the wife of Bruce Lee and Brandon's mother that lawsuit that he didn't have any more money?
Yes and no. I don't know.
I know.
That's up to him to decide, I guess.
Right.
You know,
For the opening sequence, which shows a city on fire, the production used miniatures and projection technology. Yeah, because those fires looked a little weird, you know what I mean? But it's still cool. Here you go, Kyle. You'll love this one. Top Dollar's nightclub was filmed in the abandoned cement factory called the Ideal Cement Factory in Castle Hine, North Carolina. It was also used as the filming locations for Shredder and the Foot Clan's hideout in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, as well as Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah, no, it's a great set. It's the big open room that's gray and dark and looks like an evil place. And just
yeah. On the set of the film The Crow, Brandon Lee was accidentally killed when a prop shot him in the abdomen. 2 decades earlier, Bruce Lee's character, not Bruce Lee himself, was shot by a prop gun by Stick the Assassin during a take in Game of Death. Let's see here. The Crow was ranked number 37th in IGN's Top 100 Comic Book Heroes. In 2005, creator James O'Barr claimed that The Crow was the best-selling independent black and white graphic novel of all time, translated into almost a dozen languages, and has sold over 250,000 copies worldwide.
That's incredibly impressive.
I don't know if it's still that way because there's been The Walking Dead. There's been a lot of stuff come out since then.
A lot of stuff's come out since then. Also, like have to include would you include manga in those kind of roles now too for black and white storytelling going on stuff? Because I'm sure there's huge success over there as well. So
in folklore, The Crow is associated with death and change. There were plans for a remake starring Jason Momoa, but in May 2018, Momoa left the project and so did Luke Evans. Evans didn't want to ruin Brandon's iconic role, and he felt it unworthy.
Yeah, I feel like Bradley Cooper and a bunch of other actors have been associated with those roles, and there's always they're always going to kick that around, the idea of rebooting that whole character.
If they do it, I don't want to see a reboot. Just do a continuation. You know what I mean?
That's what those two straight to DVD movies were.
I don't think I've seen them.
Basically, the same idea of just a similar things happens to a similar guy, and the Crow goes to them instead, and they have their whole little story there.
So it's not Eric Draven's character back.
No, it's not Eric Draven's back. I would. There's no right way to do it. There's no necessarily wrong way to do it either. I think you have to start the story over again at the end of the day.
Right.
I know there was one sequel that was kicked around very early on. It was going to be The Crow 2037, where it was going to be a near future, dystopian future of The Crow,
kind of like Blade Runner or something.
Yeah. But I'm pretty sure that was actually going to be Brandon Lee. That was when that was before they even finished The Crow 1. So it was the idea of Brandon Lee the sequel would be 2037 and a dark future like RoboCop 2, but The Crow.
Yeah, then it probably would have bombed.
That sounds like a terrible idea, but also an amazing idea.
The phrase, "it can't rain all the time," is inspired by an encounter that writer James O'Barr had as a teen. While living in Shepherd, Michigan, prior to enlisting in the Marines, the down-on-his-luck O'Barr found himself unable to pay for groceries. Frustrated, he decided to buy just the rice, to which the man in line behind him stated, "You can't eat rice all the time," while paying for O'Barr's groceries. The man turned out to be Lee Coogan, the mayor of Shepherd himself, and is also the basis of the character Albrecht.
Oh, that's nice.
Brandon Lee lost almost 40 pounds for this role.
Jeez.
Yeah.
I get immediately reminded of the mindset of a Christian Bale in Batman Returns when he had gained 50 pounds of muscle.
But do you know the sad part about this is Brandon Lee celebrated his birthday on the set, and they bought him cake and ice cream and stuff, and he couldn't even take it because he was on a strict diet. I was like, you could have had a piece. Why even buy a cake then? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's so many actors you gotta say of that thing. All Marvel superheroes now, they eat like rabbits. They don't eat food at all.
You can see a bullet casing in Eric's hair during the church scene near the end. The For Brandon and Eliza dedication at the start of the end credits was for Brandon Lee, who was accidentally killed in the production of this movie, and his fiancée, Eliza Hutton, who supported Alex Proyas' decision to complete the movie. One of the deleted scenes glimpsed the plot where Eric used his power to remove the morphine from Darla's veins, an act having nothing to do with seeking revenge for his murder. After doing so, Eric temporarily lost his powers in that moment and was surprise attacked from behind by Funboy and could not heal his wounds like he could before. You can see the aftermath of this fight being unchanged in the rest of the film as Eric uses black electrical tape to bandage his wounds around his arms and upper body. Also, this original narrative would have explained Eric's vulnerabilities in the final church fight more clearly as his killers were already disposed of and he was taking up action for something not seemingly related to his murder. The idea of the main character's powers only being available to him based on the health of his companion Crow was decided as a replacement concept for this plot line after the cowboy scenes had already been filmed.
Yeah, was it Skull
because
Cowboy?
There's another, well, let me tell you about the cowboy because it was the trivia before this. I didn't really was going to use it, but I will. But before Brandon Lee passed away, there was a plot line in the film that involved a character called the Skull Cowboy. The backstory of the cowboy was that he was someone who was in a similar position to the main characters at some point in time, but who was stuck in the land of the living for at least the entirety of this movie's events. Whether that means the cowboy failed to obtain his own revenge or failed to return to his grave after obtaining said revenge is unknown. But he now acts as a guide to other souls who are stuck in limbo like he is. For the main character, Eric Draven, the cowboy would often appear and warn him about the rules of revenge that all lost souls must follow if they wanted to cross over to the other side so they could rest in peace. In deleted scenes, the cowboy would explain that if Eric did anything outside of seeking revenge against his own killers, that he would also lose his powers and being risked stuck in the land of the living for all of eternity.
I think it's a good name for a character, Skull Cowboy.
Some people call me Skull Cowboy.
Yeah. But it was wise to cut that because getting caught up in the comic book minutia of like, well, how does this power actually work? And
that's something that you were, like even at the beginning after a whole year had passed and he comes crawling out of the grave and he looks normal. There's like no rotting flesh or anything. Huh? And then when he takes the morphine out of the lady's body, you know what I mean. And then when he loses his powers at the end, you didn't know.
Yeah. Well, I think in this story, like, his limits are important. What he does with it is important. What he does with his power is important rather than the limits he has placed upon him. Like, oh, no, you can't interview people that aren't, related to your revenge. And if you do that, then you're going to actually suffer damage. Like, who cares?
Yeah. But that was the only thing about this movie that was kind of off. Like,
yeah.
So the Crow's still alive, but you're already losing your power. It was kind of, that's the only flaw I saw. That was kind of confusing
in terms of visual continuity and other stuff too. Like, I understand there's a small flaw because of cut content, but also I think it was wise to cut that because it's not critical to the story. His limitations of his powers.
The following scenes were completed after Brandon Lee's death. Here we go. When Draven first enters the apartment after digging himself out of the grave, footage of Lee walking through an alley in the rain was digitally composed into the scene where he walks through the doorway. Computer technology added drops of water to the door frame to make the water on his back not seem out of place. The shot of Draven falling from the window was made by digitally composing Lee's face, complete with simulated blood, onto a body double. The scene where Draven puts on his makeup while filming using a double. The face in the smashed mirror was Lee's, computer altered to fit the shards of the glass. The image of Draven walking towards the window with the Crow on his shoulder was a double with Lee's face added during lightning flashes. And when Sarah visits the apartment, we never actually see Draven's face as it is a double. So, as you can see, pretty much all of the principal photography was done. So that's the one good thing about this movie.
Yeah. So
the Crow guides Eric Draven to the villains, starting with Tintin, who struck first blood. Then remaining villains were in order. They raped Shelley, his wife, or his fiancée. Tintin starts in on Shelley first, but Funboy pushes him out of the way and saying, me first. So take that as you will. The cameo by David J. Shaw. The writer is one of the first men to get killed during the boardroom fight. You see him fall and then abruptly disappear under the table.
Yeah.
During the boardroom shootout, Brandon Lee rolls onto his back to kick a shooter through a window before kicking back up to his feet in one movement. This is a similar move to one performed by, or in Enter the Dragon, performed by his dad, Bruce Lee, which was also his last film before his untimely death.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Just how it all connects.
Symmetry in life, man.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a total of a body count of 31 in this movie. The final rooftop confrontation between Eric and Top Dollar was shot not on the roof of a church, but on modular pieces sitting on the soundstage floor that were made to look like Gothic cathedrals. So they were fighting in a trailer park.
Literally.
Yes. At around 1 hour and 27 minutes for a scene in which the Crow attacks Micah, Lance Anderson built a mechanical bird to do the attacking. It had separate controls for the wings and the claws.
You have a team operator just
Oh, man.
It's like that scene of Wizard of Oz. Yeah. Those are monkeys.
Funboy uses a Smith & Wesson Model 629 44 Magnum revolver as his weapon throughout the film, which he uses to kill Eric Draven in his apartment. After Eric kills Funboy, he takes the 629 for himself and is seen using it in several scenes, most notably the shootout in the club where he wielded this gun akimbo with T-Bird's Taurus PT-92. This is most likely the gun that killed actor Brandon Lee in real life.
Jeez. Yeah.
So, Kyle, I didn't want to dive into the death of Brandon Lee too much because I wanted to make sure we honored the movie as it was. Now, when I was younger, and I did some research on this, I always thought the scene that Brandon Lee died in was where he jumped up on the table and he gets blasted with all those guns and he falls off the back. And I had always heard that they left that footage in there. Now, here's my problem with that. Now that I've went through the notes, if that's the case, then all the action scene after that would have taken place first.
Yeah,
which he did. We just went through what he did do, or what they used for his double. All the things that they did.
Yeah.
So.
Well, first and foremost, the original footage was destroyed of him actually getting killed. Like the police took that, discovered, declared it as an accident, and they destroyed that footage afterwards. So that footage does not exist anymore.
Right, So for me to say where he got shot, I'm not sure, because I didn't want to dive too far deep into it because I just don't feel right pinpointing exactly.
It feels it feels morbid to be that fascinated with this is the shot where he got killed, and I know there other films have done.
To me, it makes sense. It would be when he was on the table because there were so many bullets coming. Mm-hmm. But they also found out that it was the gun that Michael Massey used, so it would have to be a scene with him in it. Funboy.
Yeah.
So I'm not really sure.
It only takes one gun. Yeah.
Right. So we're just gonna leave that alone. And not really talk about it, but we're gonna see how Kyle felt about this movie. Kyle, what did you think of The Crow?
I think it's kind of great. I think it is a genre into itself in many ways because it's not quite like Batman, but it's not quite like RoboCop. It's not quite an art house film. It's kind of a fusion of different kind of genres, all kind of melding together to make it its own thing that I really appreciate. No movie's quite like The Crow in my mind, even if that's not necessarily I don't think it's a movie that I really enjoy or want to watch abundantly many times over, but it is a film that's kind of singularly just itself in a way that's interesting and kind of cool. The world could have gone a different way, or more movies like The Crow, and there are a few out there that are kind of tried to but failed. I feel like The Crow is unto itself of it's the highest quality of what it was trying to do, and it was the only one that really did it right. So I appreciate that. So it's a film that I really enjoy. It's a film that I'm not going to watch too many times again, but maybe once or twice in my life. As life's limited, how many times do you see a moon? 20 times, who knows? Like randomly said. But overall, this is an interesting film, well worth watching at least once as a film historian almost, and it's worth appreciating. So, and Jimbo, how do you feel about The Crow?
It's a good movie. The last time I saw this, well, maybe not the last time, but the first time I saw it, I was in high school. And I do believe I went to the theater to see it. But I hadn't revisited it, and it had to be 20 years, if not 25. And I forgot how good of an actor Brandon Lee was when watching this. The story was fine, you know what I mean, except for the parts we talked about earlier. The acting was good. I like his comical nature, when he's like, well, shoot me. He's like, and I'm dead. He's like, I say I'm dead. You know what I mean?
The story is taken seriously, but it's not overtly serious.
Right.
It is still kind of ridiculous and funny in a weird way.
Right.
Yeah.
I would have wished that he didn't die, so I could have seen him in some other stuff to get an overall view of his acting abilities, because based upon this, I think he could have done some great things. And I would have loved to see him and Johnny Depp team up in a movie. I think that would have been great. Yeah, it's a really great movie. I'm probably going to watch this several more times because it's moved back up on my radar where I enjoyed it so much that I think I'll watch it a few more times. I really liked it, and I thank Siobhann for recommending it, because it had been on our list, but it had been so, our list is pretty big, and so when somebody requests something like that, we pull it to the forefront. And this is one of those movies where I'm glad they did, because it made me appreciate the movie more, because it's been such a long time since I've seen it, that I really enjoyed it. So thank you, Siobhann, for that.
Yes, really appreciate that.
We hope we did the movie justice for you. Be sure to tell all your friends over there in New Zealand, hey, look, they said my name on the podcast. So
I'm a celebrity now.
Yeah, so they can come and listen along too, as well as anybody else. If you have any friends, enemies, frenemies, and you want to tell them about the podcast, then go ahead. Siobhann, I'm probably going to message you here in a little bit, see if you want to come on and do a little interview, maybe a Zoom meeting with me and Kyle, and we can add it to this thing.
So maybe last minute kind of thing.
So if you hear a thing with me and Kyle and Siobhann on this, good. If not, well, we still might do it later and add it.
The future has many opportunities.
Right. Yeah. So, again, thanks for listening. If you want to follow us on Facebook, we are the Tragedy of Cinema on Facebook. We have TikTok.
TikTok in the works, always.
Kyle,
in construction.
That's it. The public has spoken. Kyle, we want your first TikTok done by the next time we record.
Yeah. Okay, I'll make a TikTok. I'll make a TikTok for a movie. Movie
TikTok.
Movie TikTok.
How about
Yo, what's up?
How about we have Kyle do a TikTok movie where he only does the movie in 2-minute increments, but you have to stay tuned for the next week.
I compress the entire story in the 2-minute TikTok.
Okay, for the first TikTok, Kyle, I want you to paint your face like the crow.
Exactly.
And say,
your face like the crow. Join the podcast group, or else I will get my revenge.
They might think you're a juggalo. They might think you're a juggalo if you paint your face.
The crow says wop wop.
Right. If you'd like to leave us a review, I think you can leave it on Spotify, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Google Play Podcasts, wherever. We'll find you, and then we'll read them on the air if you'd like. So I think the next time we record, we are going to do man, it's been a long time since I watched this movie too, but we're going to do the Tom Hanks movie, The Burbs.
My first time watching this film.
Was it your first time?
First time. Had my Burbs cherry block.
Yeah, it is. It's a very interesting movie. I laughed in it. So, but I think this episode's coming to a close. And with that being said,
the authorities are coming.
Yeah, the sirens are coming. It's the crow.
Yeah. But like I said, we're coming to a wrap, and cut.